WWE just ruined Roman Reigns' career with reckless booking. Roman Reigns is in the hospital right now with what sources are calling a career-threatening injury, and it's not an accident. It's the inevitable result of WWE's reckless booking philosophy that prioritizes shock value over wrestler safety. The tribal chief, love him or hate him, just had his body destroyed in a segment that never should have been approved, and now the entire wrestling world is holding its breath wondering if we just watched the end of one of the biggest careers in WWE history. This isn't a worked injury angle. This isn't storyline drama. Roman Reigns is legitimately hurt, potentially seriously hurt, because WWE creative thought it would be good television to have him take bumps and spots that no wrestler should be taking in 2026, especially not someone who's been carrying the company on his back for 4 straight years without proper time off to heal the accumulated damage. And here's what makes this absolutely infuriating: this injury was preventable. Multiple people backstage reportedly raised concerns about the segment's safety. Veteran wrestlers warned that what WWE was planning was too dangerous. But Triple H's creative team pushed forward anyway because they were more concerned with creating a WrestleMania moment than protecting their biggest star's long-term health. Hit that like button and subscribe to Wrestling News CC, because I'm about to expose exactly what happened, why WWE's negligence caused this injury, and why this heartbreaking situation should force major changes to how WWE approaches wrestler safety before someone else gets hurt or worse. Let me walk you through what happened, because the details make WWE's recklessness even more inexcusable. Last night's Raw featured a segment where Roman Reigns was scheduled to confront multiple opponents in a gauntlet challenge designed to build toward WrestleMania. Standard WWE fare: Roman overcoming odds to look strong heading into the biggest show of the year. But instead of booking this intelligently with rest periods and protected spots, WWE decided Roman should work 28 minutes straight against 3 different opponents with increasingly dangerous spots. No breaks. No time to recover between exchanges. Just continuous high-impact action that would test even a fresh, healthy wrestler, let alone someone who's been working a brutal schedule for years. The first opponent was fine, standard match, nothing too risky. The second opponent ramped up the intensity with some harder-hitting sequences, but Roman was handling it professionally. Then came the third opponent, and this is where everything went horribly wrong. WWE had planned a spot where Roman would take a powerbomb from the ring through the announce table. Already a risky bump that requires perfect execution. But instead of doing it once as planned, creative apparently decided during the match via headset communication that they wanted Roman to take it twice because the first one didn't look devastating enough on camera. So Roman, already exhausted from 25 minutes of work, had to take a second powerbomb through a table. And on that second attempt, something went wrong. Whether it was exhaustion affecting his positioning, or the table not breaking correctly, or just bad luck, Roman landed awkwardly and immediately grabbed his neck/back area in visible pain. The referee immediately threw up the X symbol, the universal sign that someone is legitimately injured and needs immediate medical attention. The match stopped. Medical staff rushed out, and Roman was carefully loaded onto a stretcher and taken to a local hospital while the entire arena sat in shocked silence. Initial reports suggest potential neck/spine injuries, the exact type of injury that has ended careers or, in worst cases, caused permanent damage. Roman was reportedly unable to feel his extremities immediately after the bump, though sensation has since returned according to sources. But the fact that there was even a moment of potential paralysis should terrify everyone involved with WWE. Here's why this is entirely WWE's fault and represents systemic problems with their approach to safety. First, the decision to have Roman work 28 minutes straight without proper rest periods shows complete disregard for basic safety protocols. Wrestlers get tired. Exhausted wrestlers make mistakes. Those mistakes lead to injuries. Any competent booker knows you don't put your top star in a gauntlet situation with dangerous spots at the end when they're most exhausted. You either do the dangerous spots early when they're fresh, or you don't do them at all. Second, the decision to have Roman take the same dangerous bump twice because the first didn't look good enough is criminally reckless. In what universe is getting the perfect camera shot more important than protecting your wrestler? Roman already took one powerbomb through a table that should have been enough. Making him do it again while exhausted is the kind of decision that shows WWE values production aesthetics over human safety. Third, and this is the systemic issue, Roman Reigns hasn't had meaningful time off in years. He's been WWE's workhorse, appearing on nearly every show, working long matches, taking bumps that accumulate damage over time. The human body has limits. And WWE has been pushing Roman past those limits for so long that an injury like this was practically inevitable. The locker room reaction is reportedly a mixture of horror and anger. Horror at seeing one of their own potentially seriously injured. Anger at WWE management for allowing this to happen through preventable negligence. Multiple wrestlers have apparently expressed frustration that safety concerns raised before the segment were ignored by Triple H's creative team. There were people saying this is too dangerous and Roman's too tired for this spot, and creative pushed forward anyway because they wanted their WrestleMania moment. That's not leadership. That's negligence. and now Roman is paying the price with potentially career-altering injuries. Let's talk about what this means for WWE if Roman's injuries are as serious as initial reports suggest. Roman Reigns has been the centerpiece of WWE programming for 4 years. The entire company has been built around his character. WrestleMania plans were centered on him. Storylines across multiple brands connect to the Bloodline saga. If Roman is out long-term or permanently, WWE just lost their most protected, most promoted star in the worst possible way. Not through a planned retirement or storyline conclusion, but through preventable injury caused by reckless booking decisions. That creates massive problems. Immediate WrestleMania plans are in chaos. The Bloodline storyline has no clear direction without Roman. And most importantly, WWE loses whatever remaining goodwill they had with fans who are increasingly tired of watching wrestlers get hurt because the company prioritizes entertainment over safety. But here's what makes me angriest about this situation: this isn't the first time. WWE has a pattern of pushing wrestlers too hard, ignoring safety concerns, and then acting surprised when people get hurt. Daniel Bryan's career was nearly ended by WWE working him through concussions. Edge had to retire early because of accumulated neck damage from years of dangerous spots. Paige's career ended from a single bad bump that never should have happened. And now Roman, the most protected, most valuable star on the roster, is in the hospital because WWE made the same mistakes again. How many careers have to be shortened or ended before WWE implements real safety protocols? Before they listen to veteran wrestlers who raise concerns? Before they prioritize long-term wrestler health over short-term television moments? The answer should be 0. But we're well past that number, and WWE still hasn't learned. Here's what should happen as a result of this injury. Triple H should immediately implement mandatory safety reviews for all segments involving high-risk spots. No more making wrestlers repeat dangerous bumps because the camera angle wasn't perfect. No more gauntlet matches with dangerous spots when wrestlers are exhausted. Mandatory time off for top stars to allow their bodies to recover from accumulated damage. WWE should publicly acknowledge that they made mistakes in booking this segment and commit to doing better. Not corporate spin about unfortunate accidents, actual accountability that admits creative decisions contributed to this injury. And most importantly, Roman Reigns should be given whatever time he needs to fully recover, regardless of WrestleMania plans or business considerations. His health is more important than any storyline or any show. But what will probably happen? WWE will call this an unfortunate accident, make no systemic changes, adjust WrestleMania plans with minimal acknowledgement of why they had to change, and continue the same reckless booking practices until the next preventable injury happens. That's the pattern. And it's unacceptable. The wrestling community response has been overwhelming support for Roman. Fans who've spent years criticizing his character and booking are united in hoping he recovers fully. Because regardless of how you feel about Roman Reigns the character, Roman Reigns the person doesn't deserve to have his career potentially ended by preventable negligence. AEW wrestlers have sent well wishes. Independent wrestlers have expressed concern. Even people who've never liked Roman's push are hoping for the best because at the end of the day, this is about human safety, not wrestling politics. Social media is flooded with #PrayForRoman and similar sentiments. The outpouring of support shows that when wrestlers get legitimately hurt, the wrestling community comes together regardless of company loyalties or character preferences. But support isn't enough. We need accountability. We need changes. We need WWE to admit that their booking philosophy contributed to this injury and commit to doing better. My hope, and I say this as someone who's been critical of Roman's endless push, is that Roman makes a full recovery and returns to wrestling when he's genuinely ready, not when WWE pressure him to come back early for business reasons. And my demand is that WWE uses this heartbreaking situation as a wake-up call to implement real safety reforms that prevent this from happening to anyone else. Because if they don't, if WWE continues business as usual after nearly ending Roman Reigns' career through reckless booking, then they've learned nothing and the next injury is just a matter of time. Drop your thoughts. Should WWE be held accountable for Roman's injury? What safety changes should be implemented? And most importantly, are you sending positive energy to Roman for a full recovery? Comments below, because the wrestling world needs to demand better from WWE. This is Wrestling News CC, where we prioritize wrestler safety over entertainment value. Subscribe for continued coverage of Roman's condition and whether WWE finally implements the safety reforms that should have existed years ago. Roman Reigns is in the hospital. WWE's reckless booking put him there. And if this doesn't force major changes to how WWE approaches safety, then nothing will, and that's terrifying. Wrestlers are human beings, not disposable entertainment for our consumption. Roman Reigns' potentially career-threatening injury should remind everyone that the stunts we cheer for have real consequences. And WWE has a moral obligation to protect the people who risk their bodies for our entertainment. Get well soon, Roman. The wrestling world is pulling for you. And WWE better learn from this before someone else gets hurt or worse. Hashtag pray for Roman, hashtag wrestler safety, hashtag WWE accountability.